Hello, I'm David Miller. I'm the CEO of Brightway Insurance. I'm here today with my brother and co-founder, Michael Miller. We started Brightway back in 2003. Initially, we had 3 people, 1 office on Jacksonville's north side, and about 2,000 customers.
To fast forward to today, Brightway's licensed in 17 states. We have 117 locations and over 600 people in the organization. When I think back to when Dave mentioned those 2,000 customers, today we're, I believe, over 200,000 customers. And so it's, we're real proud of what we've been able to build and the benchmarks we've reached.
And it's interesting, from one standpoint, we now do more business in a week than that agency that we ended up purchasing back in 2003 had done and accumulated over 42 years. So what took them 42 years to do, we now do every single week. And in retrospect, when we think about how that's happened, it really came back to, in those early days, doing the planning that we did, taking the time away from what we thought was mission critical, going about our daily routine and talking to customers and writing insurance and doing that, actually getting out of our office and making sure that we spent time, in our case, with a hired consultant who provided the structure and helped us go through a formalized few-month process of doing vision work about what ideally what we wanted our company to be and what that company and what that vision for that future would look like.
One of the things, as David mentions, we spent months doing that. It's not that we closed our business for months or waited months to start the business. This was time. Yes, we had bought the original agency and we were going, but we absolutely took time weekly outside of the office to go to off-site and spend with this gentleman to do that key visioning work to make sure that we had a direction, and that as decision points came, we were able to know, okay, make sure the decisions we make today are in line with where we want to go. Making everything from what technology platform we were going to use, the type of legal structure that we were going to use, becoming a franchise organization. That was all decided and built on right at the very beginning. It was key to our growth.
And it's interesting when I think of where we were and where so many other small businesses are today. The one equalizer that's out there when you're a small business and you compare what you do to some of the largest companies in the country, it comes down to planning. And it's interesting that we automatically think that large companies have smarter people and are impervious to making really bad decisions. However, when you look at it, many of the decisions that large companies make because of their legacy systems and their bureaucracy and things like that are poorly conceived. And they start out with a bad idea. They have a lot of resources to put behind that bad idea, and so they can make perhaps something that isn't well thought out work to some degree. But as a small business, that's one of the advantages that we have. And being able to literally get out of your office, clear your head, and think through the process so you come up with better ideas, and those ideas have a way of just working, like dropping a boulder from a hill. If you drop it from the top of the hill, it just rolls down the hill and works. And where a not so good idea is that same boulder on the ground, pushing it up the hill. And taking the time, even though you think that you don't necessarily have the time or you don't need it, but forcing yourself to get away, those can be the most productive hours or days of your career.
Howard Feynman, Jacksonville, Florida. Actually, I'm the CEO and managing member of the Ashley Furniture Home Stores here on the First Coast. Started about 15 years ago with the Ashley Home Store program. Was involved in the development of the program nationally, and then actually left in 2005 to do the First Coast region on my own as a licensee. Today we have 3 stores here on the First Coast, and we are the #1 furniture and mattress retailer in the market and in America. Well, it's incredibly important to have long-term plans, and again, even short-term plans, maybe a year to length at a minimum, are critical for obviously a lot of engagement and efficiencies. So for instance, if you're doing media buys or you're trying to have vendor partners or go solicit certain customers, you can limit your expenses by planning ahead and buying efficiently. Also, candidly, you can hire the right people, and I'm not really sure how anybody can really have an efficient operation become more dominant and profitable without doing long-term range planning.
It's extremely important to have a plan, an annual budget and plan, just to give yourself a roadmap. I can't tell you how many instances I've encountered where, when that's not done, you're just sort of, blowing in the wind, hoping things turn out right. But, just creating a budget every year is crucial. Gives yourself a target to aspire to, and then not only having that, those budgets for sales and what expenses will be, but even just as important or more important is cash flow. So, I know that internally here, every week I'm tracking, here's what cash is going to come in, here's what cash is going to go out. So, businesses don't go out of business because they run out of profit, they go out of business because they run out of cash. So that's a crucial sort of checklist thing. I got to see where I'm at. Sometimes that means you don't take a job because you can't cash flow it. So then that all kind of leads to the planning, having a budget, and being able to sort of measure where you're at from month to month. So, an original Paul Davis, I guess, sort of motto that was given to me right when I started with the company was, what gets measured gets done. So if you're not measuring it, it's going to be hard. You're going to have much less likelihood of meeting your goal and being where you want at the end of the year.
My name is Jeff Davis. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm the founder of PlanTheAttack, which is where entrepreneurs and business owners join together to plan out the next 12 months of their business so they can evolve from being overworked and unfulfilled and stressed out to going into next year armed with a plan that enables them to grow their business and spend more time enjoying a better quality of life because of their business. I'll tell you the number one most critical step that I took personally to transition from being self-employed to eventually a business operator to ultimately a business owner, and how I went from working nights and weekends every night and every weekend to where I've taken more than 20 weekdays off in the last 8 weeks alone, and we've increased sales by a multiple of more than 10 times since the year I launched. The problem is that 96% of business owners will watch their companies go out of business within 10 years or less. What am I talking about? 8 or 9 out of 10 businesses are going to fail in the first 24 months. Most people don't even realize until after they've started a new company how hard it is. That you're the worst boss you ever had. You worry about making a profit. You're constantly frustrated. There's tons of stress. You're putting out fires every day instead of doing the stuff that you love to do and you're the best at, which is the reason why you launched in the first place, right? You're reacting to things instead of orchestrating them in advance with a plan for the year every single year. For years, I was working so hard trying everything I could to grow my business. It seemed like all I did was react to things that blew up all the time and answering everyone's questions. I was answer boy. And so I finally started mapping out the entire year in advance. And I became obsessed with learning from business leaders. I got to the point where I knew what our marketing would be every month for the entire year from the start. I knew what PR we'd be doing, what promotions and events we'd do all year. We wrote a year's worth of articles that subtly promoted our business and later got published all over the country. We ended up getting featured in Fortune magazine by CNN and a ton of other places. When Fortune magazine called me, I thought the lady was trying to sell me a subscription for the first 5 minutes we were on the phone. And we grew from only a few clients in Jacksonville, Florida, to hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of clients across 34 states, all within just a few years. Now, how do you properly plan out the entire next year of your business? I read books, I read articles, I went to multiple thousands of dollars seminars all over the country. I asked every badass CEO I know what they do, and I distilled everything down I've ever learned in that area into one all-day process for strategically planning out my entire year. The number one most important thing you need to do, though, is get away from your business. Take a day where you have absolutely no distractions, no one asking you questions, no email breaks, no work at all other than planning out your entire year. But plan everything. Know exactly what days your direct mail response print campaigns will go out. Know how often your emails to your list will go out and what those emails will say. How your emails will actually help your prospects and customers. How will you add value to their day in those emails instead of just trying to sell them stuff every time? How many weeks do you want to take off next year? And what do you need to do leading up to that time off to make it happen? Plan that out now. Plan out what articles you can write and then submit to publications your prospects read throughout the year. I sent articles that I wrote to journals in every state in America in advance, and I sent them out every quarter and started to grow our business into all these new markets just from those articles alone. And that didn't even cost me a penny. Look at when you can, when your slower months are going to be next year, and put a plan in place leading up to those slower months. But I'm telling you, physically get away from your business and look at the entire year from 30,000 feet. It's so simple, really, isn't it? I mean, anyone can do that.